Hello, welcome back to the Caring Conversation studio, sponsored by Cornerstone Care Solutions, live from the Care Show in Birmingham. We have our first guest of the day, which is Phil Tattersall.
Tattersall,
Right, from Safe Spaces Care.
Safe Spaces Care, yeah.
So Phil, tell us about who you are and what you do.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on the talk show. Thank you for having us. So we've created a brand new model. It's not often out there really in the community at this minute in time. It's called Safe Spaces Care, and it's to support people in crisis. So the aim is to build around about 50 to 150 crisis hospitals nationally up and down the country. We are partnering up with the ICB, NHS England and local authorities and commissioners to develop these very unique schemes. There's hundreds and thousands of different care providers out there. The question what we always ask ourselves is what happens when it all goes wrong. And often what we're finding is lots of care providers are taking on quite large packages of care, but then sometimes when it does go wrong, then they serve notice. Often on a Friday, leaving commissioners and ICB colleagues struggling to place someone, safely. What we have started looking to do is create a wraparound crisis model. Now that will consist of preventing people going into hospital to start off with, also getting people out of hospital that have been there for 10 years that should have only been there for 3 or 4 weeks. But thirdly, it's a wraparound support model for people that are in crisis, going into crisis.
So just sort of boiling it back a bit,
Yeah.
when you talk about the word crisis,
Yeah.
let's work on that a bit. What do we actually mean when we say that? Is that like a technical term that's used in like health and social care as like a crisis means da-da-da-da-da-da? Or, do you want to sort of explain what that means a bit more? So the
I think that's a great question to ask, because crisis can come in many different ways. Often, sometimes it's behavioural. It'll be a breakdown with a care provider, and often we find people being placed on a 136 section.
So that would be kind of like adults with learning disabilities, maybe.
That's right, yeah.
Someone who's an alcoholic or something like that.
So our cohorts of clients that we'll be looking to support are people with learning disabilities, autism, and mental health.
Yeah.
Often when placement breakdowns, but the breakdowns can be in multiple different ways. So potentially there could be a service breakdown where it could be quite a robust environment, there could be a burst pipe, and there could be alterations that need to be made to that property. And that person may need to come out for 3 or 4 months while alterations are made, and then that person go back in. Currently at this minute in time, people are being placed in hospital and also unsuitable environments. So often what we find is people in crisis are being placed in A&E departments, police stations, bed and breakfasts, caravans in Wales, boats on the docks, all sorts of weird and wonderful places, but not just the environments, the wrong environments for people that are going into crisis. Also, they're being charged an arm and a leg, and it just the model doesn't currently work. So our wraparound support model will support people in that crisis, that crisis prevention, but also pave the pathway to move people on to longer term provision. So what we've started doing is partner up with some large care companies, such as Lifeways, CIC, Potens, Evolve, Autism together, and start to oil some of them cogs to look at how then people can move on safely. What we will do is each one of our services will be around about 10 to 15 beds, and it'll be split into 2 parts. So the first part of the service will be crisis. So it'll be a fairly robust environment. It'll have ensuite bathrooms and a fairly robust fit out, so weighted furniture, weighted chairs. And we can support people around up to around about 28 days. So it's a wraparound model for 28 days. But what we've also done is recognise by speaking to our ICB colleagues and our local authorities, there needs to be sometimes a longer placement to get the right things in place, such as training for staff, recruiting staff, making further alterations to properties. And we'll have a discharge team on each one of our sites, and they will start to assess that person as they enter the service. So not in 28 days later, but actually from day one, and looking at that pathway. So whether they're going to return home, whether they're going to return onto a new care provider, whether they're going to return to their existing care provider, and working in partnership with ICB colleagues and commissioners to make sure people go through that pathway.
Perfect. So I've always thought that, if elderly people social care, the element of social care is like the NHS's poor cousin, and adult with learning disabilities are like the stepson we've locked in the loft, right? Like
that's correct.
So it's even more marginalised in this part of that system. So like, how do you go about like getting funding for something like that? Because obviously there's a gap issue here, but often it's just, I suppose, solved by local authorities throwing loads of extra money at it, and just saying, okay, well, who will take these people, because we just don't know where to put them. So in that scenario, I'm sort of trying to paint a picture in my own head. So Bill, 53, has lived in supported living his whole life, is semi-independent but needs support and can potentially, you know, have kind of issues around, like might get upset about stuff. So he lives in like a shared block, but then that shuts down, or there's a fire, or plumbing goes, and then someone just goes, oh well, stick Phil in a B&B. And then he gets into the B&B, they don't know what's going on, they can't handle it, so police get called, he goes to the police, goes to A&E, gets shuffled around the system. So your like organisation is looking to kind of take someone like I can't remember what name I gave Bill. Can't remember what I called him. And be there as that kind of support, like 24, like globally, and if you can then
it's exactly that. It's a wraparound support model that supports people. One, like say, prevent people going into hospital. Some people don't need a long-term hospital stay, but also is getting people out as well. There's a huge pressure on the ICBs at this minute in time to get people out of hospital. On average, bed costs are costing around £6,000 to £9,000 per bed per week.
Wow. And a hospital.
And the hospitals. And sometimes people don't need to be placed, and sometimes people are waiting. We also know there's a huge housing crisis, so there's not enough housing to actually support people out of hospitals as well. So the Safe Spaces model will be a wraparound support model, but it'll also be linking in the right kind of cohorts of people, investors, developers, and brokering some of them deals to get people moving through the pathway. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to work with a number of the ICBs. We're starting off in the Northwest region, so at the minute that's our stomping ground, that's where we're best known, but we are looking to do this work right across the whole entire country. So at the minute we're having conversations with Cheshire, Lancashire, Manchester. We've also had conversations with Gloucester, Staffordshire and Stoke, Yorkshire, Sheffield, Cumbria, and far further afield. The model up to now has absolutely took off. There's a huge demand for it. Everyone recognises there's a need and there's a requirement for this. But I think going back to your original question around funding and how do we work that funding, so we've had to be really creative with this model. This is going to be a nurse-led provision. So there's going to be a registered manager on each one of the sites, and there's going to be a nurse-led kind of input, really. So obviously that comes at a price point. And also as well, we're looking to secure C2 properties, so old nursing homes that aren't financially viable anymore are run down, and we're going to repurpose these models that are C2 properties and then make them into a Safe Spaces model. But going back to the funding question, which is really, really key, especially in the Northwest, we are made up with 24 local authorities. So what we've started doing is working with each local authority saying, well, can we actually pool that money together? So if there's 2 or 3 neighbouring local authorities, could they all block bed 2 beds each instead of block beds in a 15-unit scheme, which is then far more financially viable for them, but also equally as well can stack up as well. We can get in funding from the ICB as well. So pooling funds and separating them costs so they're a bit more cost effective, but then people still can access them space in times of need is really, really critical.
And where are you on the sort of journey with this then? So you mentioned it's sort of new, growing. Yeah. What have you got stuff on yet? Are you looking for funding? Are you looking for Is it if there's people watching this that can help, like how can people help? How can people get involved? It's obviously something that's needed. Do you need money? Do you need locations? What are you looking for to try and grow it?
So we have. You ask all the best questions. You really do.
It's nice, caring conversation.
You've done this before. So it's a brilliant question to ask. So we've been operating the best part of 12 weeks, so 3 months in total.
Wow.
In that very short period of time, we've had a huge engagement from LinkedIn. We've had over 2,000 followers that have followed our business page, and it's building day by day.
So that is the business page they would search for,
which is Safe Spaces Care.
Safe Spaces Care. So go onto LinkedIn, write in Safe Spaces Care, follow that, because you're going to get information from there. Yeah, perfect.
We're getting over probably 100 followers per week, so it's building with some momentum. And our network is vast as well, so we're building a real power team around that. We've raised around about 750 million.
Wow.
Up this minute in time in a very short period of time. We access them funds from 2026, which will mean we can roll out these schemes right up and down the country, so people don't have to travel 200,000 miles to access the space. They can then access the space on their doorstep. But also as well, what's really important for us is to have family and friends to be involved, and that always helps with recovery. Quickly just touching on the model itself, the model itself will be a fairly robust environment. We started utilising language like a medium secure kind of hospital environment. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be more of a robust environment, but it's going to be homely feel. It's going to feel therapeutic. It's going to be a bit more kind of bougie rather than that kind of a clinical, sterile, whitewashed kind of environment. Another thing that's really quite unique to what we're doing is we're going to be paper-free from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So we've partnered up with a guy.
Got to be, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're starting something new now,
it's the way of the future, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it baffles me that there's still organisations out there, care homes, home care companies that don't do digital rotoring, for example.
Yeah.
How on earth you do it,
Yeah.
I don't know. How you would manage not to, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So a partner we've partnered up with at the minute is a guy called Dr. Devon Moodley. He's the CEO of Health Connects. Have you heard of Health Connect? Or
No, I haven't. No, yeah.
So it's fairly new. That's a new business that's been operating for the best part of 2 or 3 months up to now. It's been built in the background by commissions, nurses, sector leaders for the past 5 years, and has recently launched. Dr. Devon Moodley's been up in central government last month, and also central government this month, talking around the device and how it's going to change. It's a data record system, so we've seen plenty of them out. There's a couple of people showing what they've got today around digital record systems. But the beauty of this, it's powered by AI. Now, not your ChatGPT AI, your proper AI that'll analyse carer notes. And basically what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to data dump all the records into the system, and it'll produce us a live, up-to-date care plan instantly. It'll analyse all the inputs from all the carers and all the nursing staff, and it'll update the care plan and bring it up to date every second of every minute of the day. So the care plans will flex to a certain degree, and they'll almost be like a heartbeat, so they'll move all the time. What's the beauty of Health Connect is the infrared sensors. So our infrared sensors are going to be built into our non-communal areas, such as our bedrooms and our bathrooms.
Are you working with an organisation to provide those for you?
Yeah, Health Connect.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So they're going to be the digital support record, but they'll also have the technology alongside it. And basically what that will do, it will analyse the person, where they're sitting or where they're placed in the bedroom or the bathroom, whether they're lying down or sitting up, but it goes to that next level as well. So it will be able to analyse their heart rate and their respiration rate. And we're looking at a 99% accuracy rate. It's the first device of its nature that's ever been signed off as a medical device. And it's being rolled out by a number of the ICBs and local authorities as we speak.
And it means reducing lots of unnecessary checking, disturbing someone who's sleeping just to make sure they're okay, because you can see from the data, like live data, that they're okay.
Exactly.
We're not looking at a video of them, we're looking at the data. We can see they're in bed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not a video of them in bed, it's them as the data point.
So instead of saying, doing 15-minute obs on them or checks on them every and this is quite disruptive to people, and especially people need rest and time to sleep.
Yeah.
This way we'll be able to monitor all their heart rate, all their respirations, whether they're stable. Not just that, we'll be able to analyse before they go into crisis. So we will see changes in their body that we'll know they're going into a crisis period. So it means that we can actually intervene early and be proactive rather than reactive to people that are going into crisis. So it's a very, very unique offering. There's not much of it out in the market. Some companies have got maybe 2 or 3 beds that they're calling crisis flats, where they put a couple of support workers in times of crisis. But ours is going to be technology focused, technology driven. It's going to be a nurse-led provision. Each one will be registered, and like I say, there will be we're not looking to support people long term, we're looking to support people in the short term, and we will be able to kind of pave that pathway through for people to, hopefully get out of hospital, but then into longer term provisions. So the partnership of working is going to be really, really key for us. And we want to work and partner with the biggest, largest care providers. We've got the capital funds already to develop these schemes out. We just want to work with the right kind of power teams to kind of develop these nationally up and down the country.
So if you came back and spoke to us next year, where would you be in an ideal scenario on the journey for this? So you've got some funding ready to go, some provisions unlocked already.
We've put offers in on 3 different hospitals at the minute, so all in the northwest currently. We don't want to go too quick. Our MD is a mental health nurse. Has been a sector leader for many, many years, is very well known within the sector. She's opened up and closed hospitals, changed them round, turned them round. So we've got the right infrastructure, the right team behind us. But what we want to do is make sure this model works, and we want to make sure it works from day one. So it's a slow and steady approach, and then we will roll out at a fairly good pace over the next 4 or 5 years, up to about 7 years.
Yeah.
But at the minute, it's about getting it right and working in partnership with these ICBs colleagues and the NHS England to make sure the actual service we're providing actually works.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to do is create a great environment but then it becomes another bed blocking service. So for us, there's two barriers. There's one around finances, which we've covered, and we've managed to reduce probably the ICB spend by 50%. But the second part of it is that pathway through, moving people through the pathway.
I think it's
for longer independence.
It's a big issue in the funding range. Most local authorities are spending 60% plus of their budget on social care, right? But they're investing next to nothing in social care, and they're just farming everything out. And I think seems to me that there's a realization from the ICBs now that they need to start investing. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to bring that cost down, because if they're just ultimately going, we have a problem, who'll fix this problem? And the more complicated the problems become, the more money a private company is going to charge, because obviously, the problem's more risky. So it's really good to hear that they're sort of interested in having that conversation to tackle the problem at the root.
I think the conversations we've had with a handful of ICB colleagues up to now, we've had a 100% success rate. Everyone's come back to us and says, yes, there's a need, yes, there's a demand, yes, we can understand the model and we know how it works, but it's now moving that into more of a realistic now model. We've had some very, very positive conversations over the short period of time, and we will roll this up and down the country. So hopefully I'll come back next year and give you a further update of exactly where we're up to and what we've done. But it's very, very exciting for Safe Spaces at this minute in time.
Perfect. So also, if you could create the kind of money was no object, if you could create the perfect space for someone in crisis, what would that look like?
Fairly small. I think sometimes looking at people in crisis on a large scheme, it doesn't often work. So that's why we're looking for the smaller C2 properties. So small homes, but feel homely. We want to get well away from them clinical, sterile, whitewashed hospital kind of units. We want them to feel a home from home environment.
So you're having a panic attack, for example, a hospital room is probably not, or a ward, it's probably not a good place for you to be.
No, there'll be breakout spaces, there'll be beanbag rooms, there'll be sensory rooms, but also as well, a person's recovery is really crucial by the people around them. So having access to friends and family and keeping them communications going is really, really key for us as well. So I think with the level of support that we've got, the oversight of the model, we haven't got any issues around capital. Like I say, we've got access to around 750 million. That will definitely get us on our way. But I think it's actually partnered with the right kind of people. So the ICBs are really, really key for us today. And there's about 42 ICB colleagues that will make up the country at this minute in time.
Yeah.
So we've only touched base around with 3 or 4 of them at this minute on our stomping ground in the northwest, but we will be having them further conversations as time goes on. So watch this space.
Perfect. So there's a couple of people in the audience. Any questions that you've got for Phil you want to chuck in? Any questions we want to add? No? I'll chuck you the last question then, Phil. So if you're a biscuit, what type of biscuit would you be?
Whoa, God, what type of biscuit? I didn't prepare for this one.
That's the idea.
I don't know, you put me on the spot now. I would say...
We could just talk about initially what type of biscuit you like. You've got
wagon wheel.
A wagon wheel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that a biscuit? I mean...
Well, is it? I don't know.
Biscuit? No,
biscuit?
wagon wheel, biscuit, not a biscuit. Biscuit. Biscuit.
Oh, I set a debate.
You can have chocolate on a biscuit, 100%. I mean, what wagon wheel? I mean, it's not too far from a jammy dodger, really, is it? It's got marshmallow in it. It's very similar to a tea cake.
Yeah.
And is that a tea cake or biscuit? Well, I mean, it's called a cake, but it's made of biscuit ingredients.
I might have to come back to you on that one.
So, jammy dodger though, classic jammy dodger. Have you tried any of the toffee ones or anything like that? There you go.
Toffee crisp is a good one.
Crisp,
that's
nice,
more a chocolate bar than a biscuit, isn't it?
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for coming in,
Not
Phil.
a problem.
It's been nice to talk to you. Really interesting to hear about really heavy innovation in adult social care. I think it's a part of the sector that's even more forgotten than the rest of the sector is.
Yeah, there's a huge gap.
So it's really nice to hear that there's people innovative, pushing, trying to get stuff done. Because we're spending too much money because nobody's actually going to the root of the problem saying what do we need to fix.
And I think that's the thing, we're already spending the capital spends, but we need to spend it on the right provision that's actually going to promote people's independence and move people through pathways of independence, rather than just spending it in that form of crisis, just trying to kind of plug the gaps, which is currently how it is. But I think the ICB colleagues are under a bit of pressure at the minute. There's lots of changes, lots of movement within that sector, lots of people are changing roles. So we hope going forward into the next year, things will settle itself down, and then we can have some really good, meaningful conversations of how we can actually better our healthcare system as a whole and help and support each other along the way.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks very
Brilliant.
much, Phil. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
We'll be back shortly with another guest.